fractions and decimals. I just want to go over a few things. Should be review, but we'll get through this and so we can kind of build on from here. So, first thing we have to remember how to do is how to change a fraction into a decimal. Some of them you'll have memorized, like, let's see, if I said 3/4. 3/4 is 3/4. Do you know that as a decimal? Probably. 0.75, right? How much money is 3/4? 75 cents. What if it was something harder like, I don't know, 3/5? Some of you might know that one. I'm looking at it as I can turn the denominator into a 10. If I multiply by 2, so then I would do the same thing to the top. That'd be 6/10. That's 0.6. If you don't know or haven't memorized, how would you change a fraction into a decimal? Well, what does this bar mean? That means division. So you would have to do the long division. Which number goes inside? It's always the top one. It's not the bigger one, it's not the smaller one, it's always the top one. 3 divided by 8. This is 3 divided by 8. Okay, does 8 fit into 3? No. So we're going to add a 0. Does 8 go into 30? Yes, 3 times. Does 8 go into 60? Yes, 7 times. Does 8 go into 40? Yes, 5 times, and you're good. So this is 0.375. What if it was 3 3/8? So you'd have a whole number 3 and then a fraction 3/8. Well, hopefully you would just know that's 3 point, and we just figured it out, 375. Try this one. 15/11. 15 on the inside. Goes in once. Goes in 3 times. Goes in 6 times. Oops, let me move it up. We're getting a repeat. It's going to go 3 6 3 6 3 6. Do you know how to write that? You can actually write it like this, ... Or you can use what's known as the repeten bar. And if it goes 3 6 3 6, you put it over both of them. If just one number repeats, you would put it over just one number. Okay. I wanted to write kind of on the side here. There are some that you should just have memorized, so I'm just going to make a list of those. It just makes your life easier. So, I mean, a half, you should know, is 0.5. A third, you should know, is 0.3 repeating. So then if you know 1/3, you know 2/3. If 1/3 is 0.3 repeating, you add that to itself, you're going to have 0.6 repeating. That's what 2/3 is. You should know a fourth is 0.25. And then again, once you know the one, you know 1/4, you'll know 2/4 is 0.5. 3/4 is 0.75. You can kind of build off of it, right? You should know a fifth is 0.2. I like to know an eighth is 0.125. And the nines are fun. 1/9 is 0.1 repeating. 2/9 is 0.2 repeating. 3/9 is a third. And what did we say that was? 0.3 repeating. So the nines are cool. It's always that repeating. So if I were you, I would just have those memorized. Kind of makes things easier. All right, so what's your homework going to do? Your homework is going to ask you to put things in order. So they're going to ask you to, this will be number 2, order, I guess, from least to greatest. And there's going to be a mixture of fractions and decimals. So you need a strategy. All right, so when there's a mixture, I think the easiest thing is just turn them all into decimals. Otherwise, you'll have to get common denominators, and that can take a while. So I'm going to say the strategy is change them all to decimals. So what do I mean? Let's do an example here. So let's say you have 1/4, -0.2, -3/5, and 1.1. You're going to put these in order. I would, change these. So 1/4, that's 0.25. This one's done. 3/5. I know 1/5 is 0.2, so 3/5 is 0.6. So this is -0.6 and 1.1. All right, so which one's first? The least. It's actually this guy, right? The farthest negative. So that's done. Try to put the originals. Then we've got the -0.2. Then we've got the 1/4 and the 1.1. All right, so that's the idea here. Here, try another one on your own. Let's try 0.2, 4/5, 7/10, and 0.5. That's not bad. Give that one a try. I will pause. All right, so 4/5 is going to be 0.8. This is 0.7. So 0.2 would be first. Let me box this one. It's bothering me. So that's gone. Then it would be 0.5. Then the 7/10. Then the 4/5. All right, so you're not guessing. You're not eyeballing it. You're not using the Bugs Bunny method, that one seems bigger. No. You are figuring it out for yourself and making sure you are correct. Okay, so that's one way. Now the other thing we have to know how to do is how to go back, how to change a decimal to a fraction. This is actually even easier. So let's look at an example. So 0.43. If you actually read that to me correctly, don't read it as 0.43. You would read this as 43. What spot does it go out to? Tenths, hundredths. So 43 hundredths. Guess what? You just write it like you say it. So that's 43 hundredths. There you go. Can I reduce that one? Nope. So that one's done. How about 1.123? How do you read that? That's 1 and 123 thousandths. So 1 and 123 thousandths. Can I reduce that? Nope. One more. 8.12. That's 8 and 12 hundredths. So 8 and 12 hundredths. 8 and, what's that, 6/50? Oh, I can keep going. 8 and 3/25. All right, so I guess we could put up here, write it like you read it. Right? If you read the decimal correctly, you're pretty much telling yourself the answer. Okay, now for the coolest part. This is cool. Number 4. How to write a repeating decimal. A repeating decimal as a fraction. This is cool. Because you can't just, well, I'll show you. Here's an example. So like 0.72 repeating. That is not 72 hundredths. That really goes forever, right? So if you're going to write it exactly correct without rounding, you can't. Unless you know this method. So here's the method. what you do is you let a variable equal the repeating part. So I'm going to say n is equal to 0.72 repeating. Now, I want to move the decimal over enough so I can have a number and then the repeating part. So since there's two numbers repeating, I'm going to want to move it over twice. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to multiply it by 100 to get it to move twice. So if 1n equals this, I know 100n equals that, 72.72 repeating. Then what I do is I subtract these two things. What's 100n minus 1n? 99n. What's 72 point the repeating stuff minus the repeating stuff? It's just 72. So now I am able to work with this. The repeating stuff is gone. I got rid of it. Now I'm going to solve for n. Divide by the 99. And remember what we're trying to do. We're trying to turn it into a fraction. So I'm not going to divide this out. Hello, I'll get this. I'm going to just reduce it as far as I can. Looks like I can divide these both by 9. So that would be 8/11. Go ahead and type this in a calculator. What's 8 divided by 11? Should be 0.72 repeating. And that's the only way for a repeating decimal. You have to use this kind of logic, I guess, to figure it out. All right, let's try another one. How about 0.54 repeating? All right, I can pause. We can try it. All right, so hopefully you said n equals the repeating part. This is two numbers again. So again, 100n is going to be 54 and the repeating part. Subtract these two things off. So we got 99n equals the 54, right? This part's gone. Okay, try to get n by itself here. Divide by the 99. And just reduce if you can. I can divide these by 9 again, so that's 6/11. Forgetting to box. Nice. Okay, let's try different kinds. All right, 3. How about just 0.7 repeating? So if n is just the 0.7 repeating, now I would only have to move the decimal over one time here. So I'm only going to multiply by 10 this time. So I got 7.7 repeating. Okay, so now if I subtract it off, I've got 10n minus 1n, that's 9n. The repeating part's going to be gone, that equals 7. Oh, we should have known this from earlier. Divide by the 9. Can I reduce this at all? No. 7/9. We should have known that. Remember I was talking about the 9s over here? Right? We should have known 0.7 repeating is going to be 7/9, and that's what we got. All right, doing good. One more, just for fun. How about 0.213, and that repeats? Let's give that a try. So I've got n is the repeating part. I'm going to want to move this over 3 times, so that's 10/100,000 equals the 213 and repeating. All right, subtract those off. I have 999n equals 213, because that's gone. Divide by the 999. Can I reduce? I'm going to use the divisibility trick. Look, if you add these up, 2, 3, 6, these are both divisible by 3. Let's do it. That would be 71 over 333. Can I reduce that? I don't think so. Okay. There we go. So now you know how to turn even a repeating decimal into a fraction, and that is a pretty cool thing. All right? Good job, guys.